day job is as a plastic surgeon. And on the side, I'm a fitness, wellness, and well-being coach. This is the task before me today. So, you might be asking, so what qualifies me as a plastic surgeon to talk to you about burnout today? I'm talking to you, one, based on qualification. I'm a well-being coach, and also from experience. If you imagine the health of your career, your enthusiasm for your career being a 5-story building, I dropped from the very roof of that enthusiasm to the basement, only to realize that there's even rock bottom under that basement. I've only just started to crawl my way up. I don't think I've gone beyond the landing of the 3rd floor, and I'm actually reluctant to go beyond that because of the fear of falling back into that rut. And I do not want any one of you to find yourself there. Hence, why I preach well-being, wellness at every opportunity I can. So thank you very much for this opportunity to be able to speak to you. So first of all, let's do a quick overview. What is burnout? Whether you're a doctor, whether you are not in medicine, whether you're in engineering, the cardinal signs of burnout are the same everywhere. And what are they? Quick overview. Physical and emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, sometimes referred to as cynicism, depending on the text you're looking at. And then we've also got feeling of ineffectiveness stroke lack of personal achievement. So, quick word on all of these things. So, sometimes it's because of the load of work. That's why you get tired. Sometimes it's because of the nature of the work. Sometimes it's because of the condition you're subjected to at work. I'm sure all of us heard the news of people breaking down, committing suicide, health workers, especially during COVID. Maybe not in Nigeria because we hardly ever have figures, but if you read figures from the developed world, then you know what I'm talking about. And very little work tires you out. I had a friend in medical school. This is a consultant that at a point in her life, her burnout was so bad that on Sunday evening, she has cramps, she's vomiting, she has a fever. That was how bad her burnout was, the thought of going to work the next morning. So when you hear somebody saying, thank God it's Friday, especially when they're not smiling, there is a problem. Don't ignore it. And then you can't seem to emotionally connect with the patients, your colleagues, and general aspects of life. I remember one time I was telling somebody, oh, did you hear that so-so-so colleague died? It was like, oh, Ale Jikanta, and then he just moved on. It's not that they don't care, but they're dealing with a lot, and it could be burnout. So, how about feeling of being ineffective or lack of personal achievement? Some of the things you hear people saying is, what have I achieved as a health worker? Or something happens and you go, fixing this problem isn't rocket science. And it fits perfectly into the lyrics of a famous song by Shadi Adu. Nothing has changed at all. I remember my earliest memories as a clinical student in medical school was, especially in surgery, was of my senior colleagues fighting other co-workers or their colleagues to get the work done. I inherited the same thing. I did the same thing for a while until I realized I've been a doctor for about 26 years now. By October, I'll be a consultant for 15 years. 16 years. Nothing has changed. So why should I continue along this path? I'll give you solutions shortly. And then there's depersonalization, cynicism. You're just treating work and work buddies as objects. Okay, so it's Monday. I have to go through a webinar. You're just there, staring blank at the end. Thank you, you get up and go. It's time to operate. You do the surgery, no connection. Is the mother of the baby crying? Oh, sorry, madam, the baby will be fine, and you just go on. It's not that the person does not care. They're probably suffering burnout. There's no connection with the work. I mean, before it was such a pleasure to wake up to want to go to work. When I see the mother of a child that I operated on years ago and I don't remember, and she sees me, doctor, you don't remember me, you operated on my child, I'm really happy. Now when they say, doctor, I'm like, that is how bad it is. It's not normal. So why should we even care about burnout? Because I remember one time when I was at the roof of that fifth-story building I was telling you about. I had a colleague who had done a project. I went to her one year, I'm embarking on this project, she advised me. I went to her a second year, I'm about to introduce this arm into this project. And she said, Zainab, you need to be careful, you need to slow down, you're going to burn out. In my mind, I'm like, sheesh, burnout has nothing on this lady. I wish I knew differently, and I wish I had listened to her. And so bad is burnout that when it is very bad, brains can show physical changes in your frontal area. For those who do not know the frontal area is the reason why I can come for this meeting. I'm in a hijab, I'm not in shorts. The frontal area is why I'm talking to you like this, and I'm not dancing even if I hear music playing. It controls your personality. Yesterday when they were saying, ladies move to this side, men move to this side, it's your frontal lobe that told you, oh, I'm a lady, I should be on this side. That tell I'm a man, I should move to this side. So imagine if burnout is so bad, it causes a problem in that area, you're losing your personality. That frontal area is what differentiates us from the cattle. And of course, untreated can lead to depression and death. So let's talk about treatment and prevention. Unfortunately, I've got some bad news. There's no hack. In these days of AI, there's a hack for everything. There's simply no hack for burnout. But there's good news at the same time. One, help is available, and almost all help is rooted in self-care, self-love, and soul care. So, I'll tell you about two different paradigms. They're essentially talking about the same thing, but approaching the problem from different angles. There are several paradigms, but the two I find most effective are those I'm going to be talking to you about today. So the first one is awareness. You'll be aware that it is possible. So that if you start to see the signs in yourself and a colleague, you can cry out. And of course, allies. Who is with me on this journey? Who can I run to for help? And then you start to take action. So, it helps to know there's a name for it and that you're not alone. It's happened to a lot of people. I'm sure as I'm speaking, some of you are beginning to get some insight. And it's good to know what aspects are responsible for your burnout. For me, for example, I think ever since I was a child, I've had a disproportionate sensitivity to human suffering. I mean, till today, I still remember pictures of the famine in Ethiopia for days on end. People think it's just NTA news. I couldn't sleep when they showed pictures of children starving. It was that bad for me. So a lot of my burnout also came from my personal problems with life. But sometimes it's the work condition, and I'll tell you a very short story. I like to tell stories when I give lectures because I think they drive the point home more. When my husband was in training, my husband is also a surgeon. At one point, they had this patient who had carcinoma of the prostate. He needed orchidectomy. And 3 consecutive weeks, they wanted to operate. It was either there was no steam in theater, it was either there was one thing or the other. So one time they spoke to the patient that they have this like room where they do minor procedures. We could do it for you there because at this time, this patient was already coming down with back pain and paraparesis. And you all know what would happen if that was not tackled. And then himself and a colleague organized. This patient paid to the theater, by the way. And then, sorry, something's happened to the slide. Could you please correct it while I'm speaking? And they operated on this patient, and the patient was fine. Lo and behold, 2 weeks after, they got a letter. They were summoned to come to a panel because the patient had requested a refund because he was not operated in theater. And there was a disciplinary committee they were supposed to face. I mean, it took the intervention of Professor Kalai and some of the other surgeons to say, these people did not collect this money into their own pockets. They did this for the patient. So imagine if this has happened to you several times, how are you going to feel? So if that kind of person complains of burnout, I don't think you should say, get over yourself. This kind of problems build over time to kill your psyche, kill your enthusiasm. And then I'll just advise everybody here, whether you think you're burnt out or not, to take the MASLAC score. There are a lot of free resources, and at the end I've provided some links where you can take a free score. If you take the score and you do not fall within the burnout thing, congratulations. But if you think for any reason that you need help, I beg of you, do seek help. And not take action. not just SMART goals. SMART goals have been moved to smarter goals. You evaluate at the end of the T and then rinse and repeat, knowing that help is available. So still on prevention, I like to say you should catch them young. Another short story here. One of my mentees recently finished residency, and on coming back to Gombe, he came to my house, thank you ma, blah, 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 blah. So as I usually ask everybody I see who has a lot of energy when I see myself in them, I said, so what are your plans for yourself? He was like, I'm in touch with some organizations, they can bring grants, they can do a center of excellence, they can do this. I waited for him to finish talking. Then I asked him again, what's your plan? Oh, I just said it, and then in addition I did it. I said, so what are your plans for yourself, for your well-being? And he drew a blank. So ask yourself today, do you have a plan for yourself? If you don't, there might be a problem. And then catch it young. As I said, if you think there is a problem, please seek help. Just take that score, I beg of you. A lot of you will be glad you did. So, what are the tips? We're going to talk about both prevention and treatment. Get moving. The human body was not designed to be sedentary. And unfortunately, life is becoming increasingly sedentary. You sit down to type notes, you sit down to clerk patients. When you finish work, you drive in your car, you go home, you sit down, especially if you're burnt out, you do not want to do anything. And this, unfortunately, stress, burnout, depression are prices that we're paying for abandoning the hunter-gatherer lifestyle of our forefathers. We do not have to go back into the forest, and there are solutions. So get active, get moving, think lifestyle diseases, and start with why. I think I'll abandon the story here. I do not have enough time. They told me my presentation was 30 minutes, and now they said 25. But if there's time, I'll give you a short story. And then incorporate it into your lifestyle. Yesterday, when my friend and brother, Dr. Mohammed, was talking, he said he walked 2 kilometers to go visit the health facility. It's not because he couldn't afford transportation, but because he knows it's good for his heart. So please incorporate into your lifestyle. At the slightest opportunity, work. I'm recently having to move some things, and then each time I try to move, people come, they want to help me. And then I decided to start moving at the time when there's nobody. Because strength training has been found to be the #1 thing that if you can do, it extends longevity, increases strength, and probably the best of all the available fitness programs known to man. So if you do not want to do cardio, you do not want to do any other thing, please do strength training. And then schedule it. If anybody asks me, what will you be doing at 5:50 a.m. on Monday? I'll be like, I'm doing my online class. If you ask me, how about 8 p.m. the same day? I'm conducting another online class. How about 9 p.m. the same day? I'm conducting my online class. Every other thing gets built around it. So until you schedule it, it doesn't get done. And then find a workout buddy. One of the clients that's been most consistent, that for 2 years, they never missed a single class. Sometimes the husband is in the US, the wife is in Australia, but they will log in. Mind you, Australia and US are like how many hours apart? But they will log in. 2 things in that. 1, workout buddy, and 2, they've created a lifestyle around it. And of course, find grounding in your spirituality. Very short story here. No matter how bad that burnout is, if you realize that somebody's life is at stake because of me, and I'm going to push through that burnout to help that person that needs help, somehow you will get rewarded for it. Short story. When my two of my residents were preparing for their final exams, somehow we realized that a lot of residents fail part 2, not because of the clinicals, but because of the thesis. And that's understandable because very little research knowledge is built into them as they were growing. I decided, you know what, we're going to go for the National Association of Plastic Surgery conference, NAPRAS. Unfortunately, I had financial issues. At the time I finished paying for my flight, my hotel, made provision for what I was going to eat. I had exactly 12,000 naira left in my account, but I was going to do it because I needed them to build the confidence. I needed them to be able to present in front of a room packed full of the most senior and the most junior plastic surgeons and build their presence. And you would not believe it. 2 days after I arrived the conference was in Benin. 2 days after I arrived in Benin, I got a call from an organization I was volunteering for, and they said they were going to pay me an allowance. Remember I said I had 12,000 naira left in my account? An allowance. The allowance was amounting to almost 2 million naira. So, whatever you do, if you do it, serve something greater than you, it will come back to you. It might not be immediate, but it will certainly come back. I hope this will be deducted from my time. And of course, in depersonalization, we already said, be aware, actions, and allies. Mindfulness, meditation. If I have enough time, we'll do a very short session. And then be deliberate about creating deep connections. And then, of course, don't forget to count your blessings. It is an honor. It is a privilege for somebody, a total stranger, telling you the deepest secrets because they trust you, or sometimes because they do not have a choice. No matter how painful, no matter how burnt out you are, know that, be grateful for it, and even carry it up to what the Japanese call arigato. Whatever it is that comes, whether good or bad, be grateful for it. For example, it might sound funny, it might sound cliche, it might sound mushy, but I'm kind of grateful. I'm really grateful for the burnout I suffered, because here I am, it pushed me to get certification, and the kind of people I have helped, I don't think can be quantified. Yeah, I'm good. Okay, so when it comes to depersonalization, a lot of the things will fit perfectly into the words of George Perton that says, if you sweat more in practice, you will bleed less in war. A lot of these things you have to keep repeating and repeating, even when there is no problem, so that on the day when there's a problem, you don't have any, you're not struggling to start from the beginning. It's like somebody who has not been regular in their prayers. On the day they have a problem, they're now struggling. Okay, so which one do I do first? Is it Fatiha before another verse, or is it another verse before Fatiha? So when you sweat more in practice, you're going to bleed less in war. No negative self-talk. Self-love, self-love, self-love. Even if that self-love, like me, is getting a lot of sleep, you do not have to go to the spa. Find what is self-love for you and then take it. And then there's cognition and metacognition. Simply put, cognition, be aware of your thoughts, and metacognition, imagine you're watching yourself from afar. Note your thoughts, note your actions, which ones are not serving you, discard the ones that are not serving you, and hold on to the ones that are serving you. And then in all of this, what is the most human you can be in whatever situation? In other words, can you suppress your own pain to help somebody else? It's amazing how that feels. Feeling of being ineffective, lack of personal achievement, again, awareness, 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 allies and actions. I've talked about cognition and metacognition. Find your purpose. If that purpose is something that is you can do even when you're not getting paid, it solves a problem and then brings in money, then you found what the Japanese call ikigai, that sweet spot. If you find it, please run with it. Don't let anybody take it away from you. I've put PDP here, and PDP is not a political party. It is your personal development project, something that benefits you, that brings you joy, even if it's as simple as journaling. If it's as simple as just asking somebody you know has a problem, can I give you listening ears? And then never underestimate the power of random acts of kindness to a total stranger that you know you're very unlikely to meet again, and you know will mean a lot to them, no matter how little. I'm going to skip this one, but if there's time, I might come back to it. And this is one of my biggest mantras in life, very popular. It says, God grants me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I think you should learn that, imbibe it, live by it, and life will be a lot better for you. So again, this is the second paradigm I said I will tell you about. If you look at it, it's essentially the same thing as the first one, but this one has a rain meditation and the R I have added. And it says recognize, in other words, be aware that there is a problem. Don't fight it. Ask yourself, this thing is here, I'm not going to fight it. It's probably trying to teach me a lesson. And then investigate, where is this coming from? As I told you, I found out the main reason for my burnout, and I'm dealing with it. And then ask, what does it want? Does it want me to diversify? Does it want me to get more skills? Does it want me to serve more people? and how is this going to align with my values in life? And then nurture it, sit with it until it's done. And then life will always happen, just as you surmount one problem, another one comes. But by the time you've sweated so much in practice, you're going to bleed less in war, and then you can rinse and repeat. This one I added last night. I thought I was done with my slide 2 months ago, but this one I found on somebody's, I don't know if the sister is here. I found on her status, and I said, I think I'm borrowing this. So for me, self-love be like, listen to your body, be aware, quit people pleasing, remember your worth, be your own cheerleader. In other words, be your own agama lizard. You fell down from a tree, nobody to tell you well done, and then you nodded and said, I have done really good. Commit to your growth. Find ikigai. We talked about that. Establish healthy boundaries. If somebody says, could you come to this party? Could you come for this wedding? If it's going to be too painful for you, no as a complete sentence works very well. And then hold space for your feelings. Don't deny your feelings. And then stay focused on your goals. So those are the links. Thank you.